Hello, Jan Moller with Louisiana Budget Project. I just want to talk a little bit about the state budget, and we've all heard the governor and others say we have a spending problem in this state. I'm going to try to explain why I think we have a revenue problem much more than a spending problem. And I want to start with the budget as a whole. You've heard that the budget is $25 billion a year, but just over $8.4 billion of that is the state general fund, which is the part that they actually have to work with. And when you break that down a little further into discretionary versus non-discretionary, there's actually only $2.4 billion out of this $25 billion that is the discretionary part of the budget, the stuff that the guys in that building can actually affect. And when you break down the discretionary part of the budget, a little bit more than 85% of that $2.4 billion goes to healthcare and education programs. So every year that we have a budget crisis and everybody asks why is healthcare and education always being targeted for cuts, this is why. It's 85% of the discretionary budget is healthcare and education. So that's why higher ed has been cut by more than $400 million since 2009. That's why public schools haven't had an inflationary increase now for 4 years in a row. That's why 900 school teachers in this state have been laid off or lost their jobs. And what have we done to try to remedy this? Well, we've had a big economic slump. If you listen to the governor, the main reason we've had to cut back is because the state went into recession. But the Legislative Fiscal Office actually looked at this and did a chart that was very helpful. And it looked at the causes of the slump, and it found that the economy actually accounted for just about half of the slump. The rest was mineral revenues, and 30% was tax cuts. So this was a self-inflicted wound. At least 30% of it was a self-inflicted wound. And it's not all Governor Jindal's fault. This started under Governor Blanco when they started unrolling the Stelly plan. So, but this problem has gotten worse in the last couple of years, and what I want to talk about is a part of the budget that doesn't get noticed much. It's put out by the Department of Revenue every spring, called the tax exemption budget. What is a tax exemption? A tax exemption, according to the Department of Revenue, this is not a liberal think tank talking, this is the Department of Revenue. Tax exemptions are tax dollars that are not collected and result in a loss of state tax revenues available for appropriation. In this sense, the fiscal effect of tax exemptions is the same as direct fund expenditures. In other words, a tax exemption is just as good as a line item elsewhere in the budget, only it doesn't get anywhere near the same scrutiny. According to the latest tax exemption budget, which was just released a few weeks ago, there are 464 separate tax exemptions on the books right now, worth a combined $4.8 billion. And so that's $4.8 billion in taxes that we are not collecting, that is not getting anywhere near the same level of review and scrutiny as other parts of the budget. You've seen in the Appropriations Committee, they'll sit there and talk about a $50,000 appropriation for a half an hour. Here we have $4.8 billion. It's basically going unnoticed.
Jan, is that per year?
Huh?
Is that per year?
That is per year, and that's in the latest tax exemption budget. It's on the Department of Revenue website. It's a very interesting report if you care about these things. The legislative auditor took a look at this. They did a report. It just came out right before the session, and they said just the corporate part of the tax expenditures, Louisiana lost $3 billion in revenue between 2005 and 2010. And according to the auditor's report, Louisiana lost about 55 cents of every corporate tax dollar that it should have collected. However, the problem has gotten worse since the period that the auditor studied. The latest tax exemption budget showed that the state of Louisiana right now collects 12 cents of every corporate tax dollars. 88 cents of every dollar that corporations should be paying in taxes is lost due to tax exemptions. So this problem, and just 4 years ago, it was about 50 cents on the dollar. So we've had a dramatic increase in in exemptions, deductions, gifts to companies. It's been a very good time to be a company in Louisiana. Not as good a time to be an individual income taxpayer.